So welcome back to the podcast, everyone.
Welcome back.
Hola. We're here today with Sounds by Sankus, Scott. How you doing, Scott?
Hola, I'm doing good. I don't know why I keep speaking Spanish, but I'm doing good.
I was like, when did you speak Spanish?
Did you?
I said hola twice.
Well, I don't hear and race, Scott.
Right.
I don't hear race. I don't
hear race. John.
How are you?
John is back. This is his third time on the podcast.
Yeah, I think
he's now our I guess we gotta call him a co-host.
Yeah, he is.
Occasional co-host.
Yeah, I'm here.
John is
every Friday.
Yeah. You get promoted faster around
He's
here.
like, I don't know what the fuck I was into.
Ashley is here.
Mm.
Hi, Ash.
Hi.
How are you?
Hi.
You got and as always, I have my co-host Josh. And I am Will. So this is the Talking Backwards podcast. Intro music.
We have intro music?
That'll be a sick when you edit that in.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. I like that.
Ah.
It's like that.
It only took us up to episode 4,
And then
technically 5 to figure it out.
one day we'll be able to do it live with the pad, just like intro music.
Yeah.
We need some guy named like Pharrell or something like that, just playing lounge music in the background piano.
Oh, right here. Do we want to play like Billy Joel, Piano Man in the background?
I mean, like some smooth, like.
Oh, like some smooth, some Yaz flute.
Yeah, exactly. Some pan flute going on.
Yeah.
And some guy doing spoken poetry.
Could you get it in the mutual?
Today's episode.
Today's episode. So this is our Halloween episode, as it is October 28th today.
Yeah.
So when hopefully we get this show on track and get it pumped out good enough so we don't have to do too much editing, we can get it out on Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
So what we wanted to talk about today, not a lot of people are aware, I guess a fair amount of people are aware that we sit inside the Bridgewater Triangle. Does anyone know what the Bridgewater Triangle is?
I have no idea. No clue.
I know
You enlighten me.
I recently heard about it on YouTube for like a second, and I was like, no way.
So the Bridgewater Triangle is in the U.S. the area with the largest amount of paranormal activity reported in the entire country. Between Bridgewater, Massachusetts, Taunton, Massachusetts, and Rehoboth, Massachusetts, is the largest amount of ghosts, supernatural beings of any kind, demonic possessions, Bigfoot type creatures in the country reported since the settlers landed here. Now, the history of it even goes way back to the Indians too. So what the Bridgewater Triangle is just our immediate area. That's why I wanted to talk about it, because we are literally sitting in this and it's Halloween, and it would be stupid not to.
Yeah.
And first thing I wanted to talk about is the area that sits right in the middle of the Bridgewater Triangle, Freetown, Fall River State Forest. Fall River comes up a lot.
Oh yeah, I mean, Lizzie Borden and everything.
Yeah.
Got a lot of spooky occurrences in this area.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. So Freetown State Forest sits in the middle of the Bridgewater Triangle, and back in the 1620s, the settlers landed, exchange of land. We'll talk about all of that in another podcast, because that's a hotly debated topic on how this all happened. So the local tribe, who knows what the local tribe was?
No idea.
The Wampanoag.
Oh shit! No shit.
The Wampanoag Trail. So the Wampanoag tribe, the first thing they ever reported was of a race of 2 to 3 foot troll-like creatures that they called the Pukwudgies. And these things would sometimes just play tricks on people, sometimes they would rob them, and then sometimes they would just straight up murder people. And other times they would just stay off in the distance running and making scary laughing noises to scare the shit out of people. The Pukwudgies, the 2 to 3 foot things. So we have our own pygmy people
In the Freetown Forest.
in Fall River. In the Fall River Freetown State Forest.
So these are like larger creatures? Or are they...
They're about this tall.
Oh, they're small.
Which, you know, this tall is a great thing to say on a podcast.
That's like
2 to 3 feet tall.
2 to 3 feet tall.
Yeah. So they were tiny little demon
It's like
things.
little like half gremlin things.
Yeah. So
Your pod.
Another
cat
thing.
Fucking with that mic. Your mic just moved. Is there a cat in there?
no,
No,
there's no cat in there.
Look, it's moving. Where you at here? You back?
Probably around the corner.
Where'd you move?
It's just wiggling. Spooky.
It's just wiggling by itself.
It's wiggling
It
because
just got pulled like I thought. I thought a cat was fucking with.
dude. Since we're talking about some spooky shit.
You might be able to hear it on the. You know what I mean?
Oh, we gotta listen for EVPs, people. Electronic voice phenomena.
This is perfect. If you hear anything like rattling around in the microphone right now, that's because we're being haunted. One of us might become possessed during this podcast, so. And it has nothing to do with alcohol, I promise.
And alcohol is demon. Y'all are sinners.
Sinners, baby.
So,
I live to sin.
A sin to live. What?
the Wampanoag tribe, they also, you know, had their own set of ghost sightings and stuff before we even settled here.
Yeah.
But there's
How do they document that? Like,
well, up until that point, it was all oral tradition.
yeah.
You know, the sites of dead Indian chiefs and spirit animals and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, like there's actually a kid that I know that what's his name? Riley and Rob, which I'm pissed that freaking we couldn't get them there. They actually been there like a bunch of times and they know like a great deal about the history of it. And like they said it's like just basically like there's like this it's just like this evil, ominous vibe. So like a lot of people that like want to do something bad will do it there. Because there's just like this ominous
That connect.
Well, there's
that,
evil vibe that's
that
there.
attracts them. Yeah.
I mean, there is a definite. The place is huge. It's like I think it's 33,000 acres, with over 50 miles of undocumented trails and stuff. So if
No
you
way.
want, and I've been stuck
Really?
back
With
there.
Drones and everything today in today's date, they still haven't documented.
Well, it's
those
probably
trails.
that's the thing. It's probably not documented.
Unofficial
but guaranteed,
trails.
You know, there's a lot of there's a crap load of people that like just go walk through it, but they don't document.
Oh yeah, there's a difference
You know what I
between
mean?
like people knowing about it and it actually like
Being on the map.
documented.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, trails, you know, can come over time as well. So, you know, they're not necessarily documented in those paths that people take all the time that are like trails, you know.
Yeah, because there's no cartographer sitting there trying to map it out. You ain't getting paid.
All right, so you said something about a pilot that was
Well, we're gonna
Flying.
get there.
like what's this about aliens in there too?
Yeah. So there was a UFO sighting.
Yeah, it says here. I looked it up and it says there's UFOs.
Yeah. There have been UFO sightings. You have it pulled up right now?
Well, it's kind of a broad, not a very like.
Is there a description?
There is, but it's like big paragraphs. It says, besides its scenic beauty, outdoor activities, and its interesting history, Freetown State Forest is perhaps most well known for its intense amount of bizarre, unexplainable phenomena. The forest sits squarely within an infamous Bridgewater Triangle, a 200 square mile within southeastern Massachusetts that is the epicenter of a mind-boggling array of inexplicable bizarre phenomena reported since colonial times. Including strange creatures like Bigfoot, UFOs, ghosts, specters, ominous black helicopters, mysterious orbs of light, strange disappearances, giant snakes, poltergeist activity, and cattle mutilations. That's just to name a few, it says.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're doing that.
That was perfect with the bongos. That was beautiful. Thank you for that addition to the podcast. Sound engineer Jonathan, everyone. Slow clap build up.
I got kind of a related story to that. When I lived in Germany, in that area, there was a farmland kind of area, a few miles away from where I lived.
You live near the Hinterfeld massacre?
I have no
The
idea
axe
about
murders?
that. No idea about that, but anyway, so there was like a sinkhole, basically just a giant gaping hole that sheep would fall into. Basically, they'd be grazing sheep and cows and stuff like that, and they'd fall into the sinkhole. And well, there was a cave underneath it. And you're familiar with like limestone, right?
Yeah.
How they come down and they form these
Giant stalactites.
Yeah, these giant spikes that are hanging from the ground and all that. So you can like walk around it. There are certain sections where it's closed off and everything, and it's like safe to walk under. Basically, you could walk there and you could see the giant gaping hole. And it's like it's pretty high up. It would probably compare to like a 4-story building or something like that.
Wow.
So giant gaping hole in the ceiling, and everything else is dark pretty much around it. All the different paths. So you could totally get lost in it.
Dude, we need to go there.
There was, there's a lot of stories about like, it's been called like Satan's den or the devil's den or whatever like that, and so a lot of people thought like you're going there and you're gonna like see like demonic shit. And I guess there have been a lot of people saying they saw shit like that, but that kind of shit is never official. But it's a pretty fucking scary place to walk in, especially because of the way that things echo in there. It's a very like spooky kind of like constant dripping and wet atmosphere, like definitely very moist environment, so you always see like drips and stuff and echoes in the background.
Dude, I'd be afraid mostly of the bugs. Like have you ever seen those bugs? They're like big spiders. Those things, they look like, I don't know, they got like long legs and they look like kind of like spiders, and they're like just huge.
So there's a part of the forest that was owned by the Fall River Granite Company, and they had a big quarry in there, which is now non-operational, but it's filled with water. And there's an area now called the Ledge, which is it's just a big cliff on the edge of this quarry, overlooking this giant lake, which I've been to, and it's fucking beautiful. But I always felt something a little weird when I had been there. And so, visitors to the ledge have reported being overcome with an urgent, unshakable sense of dread and foreboding when venturing near the quarry. And the area has been rumored to be an alleged hotspot for Satanists and strange cults, as well as ghost sightings. So, there are reports from people who are sitting down at the edge of the lake, overlooking the cliff, and seeing people jumping off the cliff to try to kill themselves and then disappearing before they hit the water. So that's creepy enough. And then in 1974, there was a UFO sighting by a pilot flying a Cessna light aircraft, like a little 2-seater aircraft over it. Reported being followed. A strange light was tailing the plane. It was accelerating, decelerating, and then becoming elongated all within the space of a few minutes. And then it reported to have suddenly shot up at a 45-degree angle at a high rate of speed and disappear. So it hung around, changed shape, and then shot off into the sky and disappeared.
That's really cool, because honestly...
That's actually very... Oh, I'm sorry, you go ahead.
No, what are you saying?
I was just saying that I've watched a lot of shit about, like, UFO sightings and, like, ex-military people that are retired now speaking out about that stuff, and that's pretty much, like, on par with what they've been reporting, like, such as jets trying to chase these unidentified objects and not being able to keep up with them. Like, they just accelerate like a motherfucker, like right away, and jets can't accelerate that fast, and the way they can turn and change angles, like just shift their momentum. That goes also in line with how they say that UFOs, like all the conspiracy guys, with how they say it was built and shit like that. Like, it's focusing on like centrifugal force, which, like, I guess if you have power over that, it can change momentum really fast. So that's a really interesting thing.
Maybe because when we're moving. When you're moving something like with mass across air, you get that friction. So maybe there's a way where they figured it out so that they're not really actually moving across like the air with friction. They're like So there's nothing there. There's nothing, like, there's no medium there for them to, like, have to, you know what I mean?
They're not moving in traditional space.
Because
The universe is moving around them.
Because check this out, because me and Smeagol were sitting outside watching the stars one time. Just chilling, watching the stars. We were looking at a satellite, and we were like, oh, hey, look at that satellite. And then we're seeing it going in a straight line. And then it just goes right. Instantly. Like, just right. Like, it had no, like, nothing can do that, like, with our shit.
No. I've seen that before, too.
Are you guys
I've
familiar with...
seen it like 2 years ago outside here. I was watching the stars and it was going straight, and then it turned and disappeared. Like,
Are you guys familiar with how the fourth dimension works? Basically, like, we see things in basically a 2D, but since the way our eyes and our brain works, we interpret that as 3D. So we can't see into the fourth dimension. If our eyes saw in 3D, we would actually be able to interpret the fourth dimension. So things that are outside of the dimensions that we can't interpret will seem as if they're phasing. Basically, you have a 2D object, you put it this way, and it's going to phase out of the dimension that you can see, basically, because it's going to be perfectly flat. So if something is in 4D, it's going to seem to basically disappear and then reappear at another point. So it's like a line between dimensions that we can't see. And the object entering that dimension and popping out over here, that difference between those 2 points is what you can't see. So in theory, you could move an object through another dimension, and to you it would appear as if it's basically teleporting or just accelerating really fast. Like, maybe it would create a blur between those 2 points and seem like it's accelerating, or maybe it's just like
because that's just the way
the light
comprehend it.
Yeah, it's going faster than the light that we can see in our dimension, so it seems like a blur between those points, basically. That's my theory on that, but that's basically like a rundown on fourth dimension.
So,
Aliens.
Here's the thing. That aircraft, I'm just going to tell you guys who was inside it. So there were 2 security personnel, Air Force Colonel Bill Painter, and then Senator Ronald Reagan. So this isn't, some drunk farmer flying over his fields.
Fucking Ronald Reagan.
This is the person who became president. So another haunted place inside Freetown State Forest is called Hockomock Swamp, which is a big wetland that covers it's rather large. It covers part of southern Massachusetts. It's just a remote, brushy, thick trees with vines and marshes and muddy rivers. And early settlers are said to have quickly learned of the swamp's dangers, and they called it the Devil's Swamp. So there have been sightings of a few weird creatures. People have reported to have seen giant pterodactyl-like creatures with giant red lit eyes.
Mothman.
Yeah. There's also reports of a shaggy ape-like creature within the swamp. That sighting was made in 1978, actually, by a man who was probably related to someone we know. His name's Joe DeAndrade. He was walking near a pond called Clay Banks inside the swamp, and he turned and he saw a large, quote, apish and man thing lumbering towards the woods. He was terrified and reported running out to a nearby road, and then there were a few searches of the area and no one ever found anything. And then a few years later, a guy named John Baker saw something. He was out on his canoe laying muskrat traps, and he saw something very similar. He actually reported he got close enough to it, and he said it was he described it as being wreathed in a horrific, odious stench. So he smelled bad. That's that.
But you know that, I don't know, even if you're not into all the superstition, that is one thing though, is that kid. I wish I had that kid here, Riley. He was saying we gotta go there, because when you go there, he just says you just feel this really bad vibe, this really weird vibe.
So about that bad vibe and what you were saying, that it absorbs people in, there's also been unsolved crimes, brutal murders, and a lot of satanic cult activity The late 1970s and 80s, where that whole satanic panic was going on. You know, war on drugs, Satanists, luring your kids into doing drugs and all that.
Kisses the devil.
Smokes the devil's lettuce.
Check this out,
Barb's
Dave.
husband.
Yeah, Barb's husband, Dave. He's like 37. When he was a kid, he went to the Freetown State Forest with his parents, and there was some random guy that came up to him and was like, I don't know, not.
He said you
I
were
can't
against
say.
your kids and you should get out of here.
Yeah.
There's some people doing some weird satanic stuff up the road. Like they were
They're like
cutting
cows.
cows.
Well, isn't
Yeah,
that
kids.
pretty much similar to what's happening up the street at the water tower and those woods? With some like satanic shit going down over there, where people are like sacrificing dogs and hanging them from the trees and shit. Right down where the baseball field is.
People like that in this world.
Yeah, and it's really close to us.
They're all around us.
Yeah,
You know what I
oh
mean?
yeah.
Especially in this fucking area. Like,
And then by Diamond, you have a similar thing by the Diamond High School. In those woods, there's shit like that went down too. So, I mean, there was a recorded. There was actually. I mean, this happened for real, where there was a murder or something like that, or some girl or whatever got sacrificed. They were like kicking her head around. And that's like a story that if you went to do,
We're gonna get into that.
about.
We're gonna get into that. That is an absolutely true story, and something here about
where
an
Diamond
occurrence from when Dave was a kid. You said so
Yeah.
around 12.
I don't remember.
He's 38 in the 1980s. There was a bog worker who complained of trespassers on his shack in black robes. Now, the man contacted police, and when they got there, they found a large pentagram in the ground as well as a design made up of stones. So they took the pentagram away. I don't know what it was made of. And they kicked the stones, back to where they were. But when they visited the scene the next day, the pentagram and the stones were back to exactly where they had been previously removed. And then also on that property, various cattle mutilations, including the butchering of a cow in the woods and a group of calves found horrifically mutilated in a clearing, both from 1998. So one of the most famous crimes that happened here in this forest was a girl by the name of, she was murdered. Her name was Mary Lou Arruda in 1978. And this is the story you were talking about.
Oh,
Yeah.
This isn't Diamond?
Yeah, because Diamond's just the closest high school. It's just the local, fucked up thing that happened. September 8th, 1978, she was last seen riding her bicycle in her home in Raynham around 4 p.m. At 4:30, they found her bicycle was abandoned by the side of the road with a skid mark from a car and a cigarette beside it. Several witnesses came forward to report that they had seen a green car with black racing stripe speeding away from the scene at around the time the girl is thought to have gone missing. And the police were able to gain enough insight into his appearance to cobble together a sketch. And then that was put on wanted posters and put all over the place. So they finally found her on November 11th. So September 8th to November 11th.
damn.
That's September, October, November, a month, 2 months and 3 days. 2 months and 3 days later, they found her tied to a tree in the forest. They checked out the body. Through the autopsy, they found out that she was still alive when she was beaten and battered and tied to the tree in a she was tied standing up. And how she died, she lost consciousness, and the weight of her body caused stress on her neck, and she asphyxiated.
Yeah, that's actually what that kid Riley was talking about. He said that it had to do with some pimps.
Yeah. So
Some pimps from Bronx or New York or some shit came around.
well, that's mixing two different stories because that's the other big one.
That's the other big one. Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
So they finally found they think they found the guy. They weren't exactly able to prove it, but he went to jail for an incident in 1968 when he was convicted with assault with intent to rape, assault and battery with a dangerous weapon, and a kidnapping of a young woman from Andover, Mass. So they think it was him. Nobody knows for sure. He still denies to this day that he had nothing to do with the case. So, has anyone heard of the Ice Shack?
Nope.
No? The Ice Shack, it was a building. It was for logging in the 1940s, but it's like people have found it, and they've used it for cult activities and dealing drugs and all sorts of stuff. But there's one series of murders that kind of stands out. It's a string of like really fucked up killings by a pimp, and he was an alleged satanic cult leader, and his name was Carl Drew. He Satanist pimp. That's what I want to be for Halloween.
Original.
Satanist pimp. Sexy Satanist pimp.
Right. I'll call up the party store tomorrow.
Yeah. So, what happened? This guy, he was known for using his Satanism to keep his prostitutes in line. And then he would threaten them with human sacrifice or worse if they stepped out of line.
Damn.
So, that's what happened.
How do you threaten somebody? Like, you better stay in line or I'm gonna sacrifice you.
Yeah, right. I sacrificed it to the devil, bitch.
Where's my money?
Where my money?
Exactly.
You better suck that dick or you're gonna get sacrificed. I should be making light of this.
We're gonna beep this part out. So, on October 13th, 1979, they found a brutally murdered corpse, and it turned out to be a prostitute named Donna Levesque. And then 2 other prostitutes claimed they saw what happened. Karen Marsden and Robin Murphy. They later explained that it was a ritual killing carried out by Drew. So, basically what happened is she was tortured and killed. I'm not going to go into the deep stuff because what I read here, it's very... But basically, they decapitated her and kicked her head around, as you were saying. And they were convicted for this. And do not disturb mode. Available now in Android 6.0.
Available now on my fucking iPhone 4S that's been around for like, what, 4 years?
Nah. I've got a beeper that has a no disturb.
I got fuck my mom. What the fuck was that? I got a Nokia.
Yeah.
Like, no shit.
So that's Freetown State Forest, everybody.
Yeah.
So, I want to know, does anyone know of any other weird stuff that happens around here? Obviously this house is haunted.
Well, I got a story. I mean, you guys familiar with the Swansea Labs factory that was torn down like a few years ago?
Oh yeah.
It's like basically like
Where?
It's a few hundred feet from my backyard. It's like right behind the Stevens home, and you can get there through the that back road that's right on that main
Where
road over
Isaac
there.
skateboards?
Yeah, I've been there, right?
Basically,
Next to Bobby's old house.
Yeah, exactly. Basically, down that road there was that old factory, and right next to it, there's an old graveyard.
Huh?
And you know it's an old graveyard because the graves have 2 stones. They have one headstone and then the smaller stone that was used like back in the witch trial days to like keep the dead from digging themselves back up. So they pretty much theorized that if they put another stone where their legs are, they won't be able to get out of the grave or whatever. So you can tell, like you can also tell from the quality and you know the pretty much corrosion from on the stones and everything, but. It's like, it was pretty creepy because if you go there at night, you know, it's 5 minutes away from where I used to live. You can go to this, like, old-ass cemetery with, like, you know, what they thought were witches and shit buried underneath. Well, not even witches. They would just bury people because they were afraid of them coming back or whatever. So they, like, put extra stones underneath to keep them down there. And it's right next to where that old factory was, where I have some stories of going in there, too. That old abandoned-ass factory and grabbing fire extinguishers and spraying it around, like... 10 years ago, actually, by now. Yeah, so that's...
I've seen something weird over there where the town library is, you know, right around the corner from your house. The cemetery right behind there. One time at night, I pulled in there to drop a book off because I was a fucking nerd.
I am too.
Yeah. I pulled in, and I saw a kid, that there's and people can look up pictures of this, but there's like a larger portion of the cemetery, and then there's a little brick wall, and then there's a small portion with even older headstones. That's only like a few feet across, and at one end of it is a giant rock, about the size of a person. So I saw a kid sitting on that rock. And I want to say that he was dressed in old-timey clothes, but it just happened so fast that, like, after the fact, and he jumped off the rock facing towards me, and he disappeared from, like, he went under where the stone wall was, and he never came back up. And then when I got out of the car and stood up and looked, there was no one there. So I have no clue if this was a kid who wasn't supposed to be there and like just dropped down and ducked and like got the fuck out without me seeing, even though my headlights were pointing like right at it. I have no clue.
You guys familiar with that old school that's down the road? Like if you go past the junior high and you keep going down towards that ice cream place, you know how there's like that wicked like
Hornbein School.
Yeah, exactly. That old school right there. I was driving there once, like during the evening, and I saw people in old-timey clothes, and I don't know why the fuck they were in old-timey clothes. I saw these people, and it really tripped me out for a minute because I was like, why are there old-timey dressed people going into this school? Like,
yeah, because they used to be a legit school.
In the 1600s, yeah.
I don't know if they were playing dress up or whatever, but it had me tripping out. Like, I was like,
see, that's
did
the
I just
thing
see
is
that?
we used to have field trips there and you dress up.
Yeah, I remember doing that.
It bugged me out.
Also, though, my mom lives down the street from there, and say, like, 10 years ago now, frickin', they were burning crosses over there.
Damn. Yeah, I mean, I know those were real people that I saw, but the point of that is that for a second I drove by and I was like, was that a real person? Or like, for a second, it just took my mind.
Well, see, that's the thing.
Satanic to me.
That's the thing, because I've heard about that place.
Racist.
People have gone by at night and heard class going on. And, like, they would look in the windows and there'd be people dressed in old-timey clothes. Now, from being from this area, I know that we did these field trips during the day, but people have reported seeing that in the middle of the night.
Yeah, that's the thing.
That's the
what I'm
weird
saying.
thing.
I went during the evening. It was already dark. It was like maybe like 6:30, like during winter time. So it was pretty dark. It's like pretty much the way it was right now. It's 6:47. Pretty much already dark out. And that had me kind of weirded out for a minute. In that same area, there's a lot of stories about that area, like the hitchhiker that supposedly, like, there's a hitchhiker.
The redheaded hitchhiker Route 44.
There's a lot of stuff going on in the area. I personally was driving down once and I was not on drugs and I saw something move across the road, but when I drove by, there was nothing there. And I'll never forget that. And that was probably just my brain playing tricks on me because I am known to, like, not see the face sometimes, but seeing that nonetheless, like, it always stuck kind of with me.
So, what were you saying?
Well, I was gonna say, redheaded hitchhiker. There are reports up until even recently that he basically, sometimes people just see him walking down the road and he'll disappear. Other times he's trying to hitchhike, and when you go to stop, he'll disappear. And there's one report, there was two people in a car. And those two people saw this guy. It was late at night, and they're like, "Oh, can't leave him on the side of the road. He's gonna get hit by a drunk driver or something." So he gets in the car, doesn't say anything. They start getting weirded out, but they don't. They go to stop and say, "Okay, you gotta get out of the car. You're weirding us out." And then they turn behind, and he was gone. And then they started driving away. And apparently, this added to the myth, saying that if you deny him a ride, he'll try to trick you. And basically they drove away, and all of a sudden he was in the middle of the road, and like they drove right through him while he was laughing at them.
At least he's polite. They told him to get out, and they didn't even have to say it, and he already did it. Probably just forgot something in the car.
What about Lizzie Borden?
Yeah, that's a famous one. And whenever I see that on TV, it's like, oh, that's Fall River. Oh,
what's the real story? Like, does anybody know? Like,
yeah, she murdered her parents.
Who knows?
But like,
yeah, who knows the
anything
actual?
else than that?
That was huge. Women didn't do anything like that. Like, she's
but like, what's like the backstory? Like,
well,
why did she?
There's many reasons. They think that first off, she didn't do it. Because at the time they believed that woman couldn't be possible, and it takes a lot of strength to do that. What was done, but she could have done it. Fuck.
So she murdered. Who did she murder?
Max, her mother and her father, and
Her father and her stepmother.
was it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it her mother?
Yep.
Her stepmother. Yeah.
It was, yeah.
Well, yeah. So she, I have a phone in front of me, fact checking.
Yeah, I just want to get some more info, just so we want to be an accurate, factual podcast. So, she's born in Fall River. Her dad, his name was Andrew Jackson Borden. Grew up, yeah, that's a good name.
Yeah, right.
So they grew up and he eventually became prosperous. He owned farms in Swansea. And they had a house in Fall River. He owned a couple textile mills. Yeah, so some of those giant mills in Fall River that are like the laser tag place and stuff, some of those could be his. He was the president of a bank, Durfee Union Savings Bank and Durfee Safe Deposit and Trust Company. His estimated value at his time of death was $300,000, which is $7,910,000. So this guy was basically a million, like the highest.
Yeah, he was doing
Highest of society.
So he was pretty extremely wealthy for his time.
Yeah.
He was extremely wealthy. So he was known for being extremely frugal. His home lacked indoor plumbing on its grounds and second floors. The residence itself was 92 2nd Street, which was changed in 1896 to number 230. It was an affluent area. The rich people of Fall River, Massachusetts. It's the Highlands. It's up in the Highlands. The house.
Yeah.
It's up near like BCC and what's that, Durfee?
I used to live
Durfee.
near it, right down the street on the Highlands. That house actually across the street from where I used to live burned down. Watched it burn
Isn't
down.
that next to one of the courthouses too?
I think so.
There's one
I'm not
behind the
too familiar with
courthouse.
There is one right behind the courthouse because I used to go there. So I used to see that thing a lot.
Alright, so
Lizzie Borden.
That's the last time I saw Alex.
that's Lizzie Borden's dad. So her stepmother, Abby Borden, and Andrew Borden were murdered at their home on the morning of Thursday, August 4th, 1892. Abby was murdered between 9 a.m. and 10:30 a.m. and Andrew between 10:30 and 11 a.m. because he wasn't home yet. So whoever did this, they saw Abby Durfee Gray Borden. That's her full name. Lizzie and Emma were doing chores around the house, the two daughters. Abby had gone up to make the bedroom, and she was struck on the side of the head with a hatchet that cut her just above the ear, causing her to turn and fall face down on the floor, which created contusions on her nose and forehead. Her killer is then assumed to have sat on her back, delivering 19 direct hits to the back of her head.
Thanks. It's extremely.
So, let me just jump in and if anyone knows the little song, the song is entirely inaccurate. Lizzie Borden took an axe and gave her father 40 whacks, and when she saw
How
what
do
she
you
had
hit
done
somebody 19 times?
in the back of the head,
That is a lot.
No, see, the song I know is she gave her mother 40 whacks. When she saw what she'd done, she gave her father 40.
yeah, I switched it up. Thanks, Ash.
Yeah,
The only
Podcast Nazi.
way, the only way that I
This is
could,
the same thing as me.
the only way that I could somehow bring to light what the fuck she was thinking. You know what I mean? Is maybe she was really trying to kill that person.
Well,
Like she already had it triggered in her head. She was gonna kill them. Maybe she just did it that many times because she was like, I just want to make sure that person's dead. Because it's like, Maybe that was probably the first person
She
she had ever
really
killed.
hated her stepmother.
That's probably the first person she had ever killed. And I don't know, dude, I've never killed anybody, like, you know what I mean? Like, that's probably why maybe certain people shoot like this many times, because like they've never killed someone before, so they're like, I'm gonna do it that many times.
That's to like make sure that they're dead yourself.
Yeah, basically. Even though
Yeah,
as morbid as it sounds, but
No,
yeah.
I can totally see that being a possibility. I mean, that's really like having to put yourself in the perspective of a killer.
Yeah, like doing that shit, like.
I mean, honestly, they could have found. I mean, they could have just blamed it on her.
Well, because she got acquitted. That's the thing. She didn't go to jail for it. A court says she wasn't guilty.
What?
Said if it doesn't fit,
Yeah.
you must acquit. Fucking.
Yeah, she OJ'd the system.
Yeah, so.
So I'm gonna go into the death of Andrew Jackson Borden. So he went for his morning walk at 9 a.m. Remember, between 9:30 a.m. and 10:30 a.m. is when the first murder happened. She went to clean up the room, and she got murdered there after the father had left. So he returned at 10:30 a.m. and his key failed to open the door. So he knocked for attention. Bridget, one of the daughters, went to unlock the door and find it jammed. So first of all, the front door was either accidentally or possibly on purpose made to be unable to be opened. This Bridget lady, who I believe is actually not one of the daughters, she's one of the cleaners, like the maid of the house. If I'm wrong, hate mail me. We would love to get some input in the mailbox. TalkingBackwardsPodcast@gmail.com. Send us all your hate mail. We'll publish it. So she later testified that she heard Lizzie laughing immediately after that, but she didn't see her. But she stated that the laughter was coming from the top of the stairs, which is where the stepmother was murdered. So that was later considered significant because Abby's body was visible through the gap between the bed and the door when climbing the stairs. Lizzie later denied being upstairs, testified that her father had asked her where Abby was, and she replied that a messenger had delivered a summons to visit a sick friend. Lizzie stated that she then removed Andrew's boots and helped him into his slippers before he lay down on the sofa for a nap. Next, she informed Bridget of a department store sale and permitted her to go, but Bridget felt unwell and went to take a nap in her bedroom instead. So, at this point, the stepmother is dead in her room, hidden away. Father goes to take a nap somewhere else in the house. She sucking up to him, taking his boots off, helped him into his slippers so he lay down on the sofa and relax and take a nap. Then she sent her sister or maid, Bridget, away. Tried to anyway, but she decided to go take a nap too. So at this point, Lizzie gave two different stories as to what happened. She first said that when she went to the barn to look for iron or tin to fix the door, she remained in the loft for 20 to 30 minutes eating pears. Because, what else are you going to do in Fall River?
No kidding.
Unless she just said that.
Yeah, that's the first thing she said.
Yeah,
So, obviously, the police find that skeptical,
she murdered her parents.
finding it unlikely that anyone could stand the stifling heat of the loft for that long. And they also reported that it was dusty up there and there was no fingerprints or smudges or anything to signify that anyone had been up there. Bridget Sullivan testified she was in a third-floor room resting from cleaning windows when just before 11 a.m. she heard Lizzie call downstairs, "Maggie, come quick, Father's dead. Somebody came in and killed him." Which apparently Lizzie always called Bridget Sullivan Maggie, which was the name of an earlier maid. Andrew was slumped on a couch in the downstairs sitting room, struck 10 or 11 times with a hatchet-like weapon. One of his... trigger warning. One of his eyeballs had been split cleanly in two, suggesting he had been asleep when attacked. His still bleeding wound suggested a quite recent attack. So her
With an
answer,
axe?
huh?
With an axe?
With a hatchet
The hat.
like weapon. So it's like a small axe.
I wonder.
Huh?
Because it's like, who knows if it was her? It could have been the lover. Like, if she couldn't do it, but they wanted to say.
No, I mean, honestly, she couldn't have. It could have been. Because, I don't know, I just thought of this for some reason. Because her father was in some big shit, you know? He had the bank and everything like that.
He had enemies.
So, yeah, I mean, imagine that. Like, if they, some of the banks around there just got together and decided that they were going to hire some maniac to fucking go in there and murk people. And they decided that we're going to blame it on Lizzie Borden. She's a woman. She's never going to get actually convicted of that, That's exactly why she didn't get convicted, I'm pretty sure. It wasn't even possible back then, in people's minds for that to be done. So,
shit,
her and eating peaches for 20-30 minutes, yeah. She was eating peaches. That's it. I mean,
That's another crazy story from across the river.
across the river.
Oh, river. If anyone's a fan of Archer, there's actually an episode that references Bristol County, Massachusetts, or Bristol County, Rhode Island. But we're right on the border of Massachusetts, Rhode Island, so it's Bristol County for all of us. But for
It's like
our large
everywhere
amount
for
of
all of us. It's like
for-
Boston, Providence, Newport.
and Family Guy, I just sometimes it's so painfully accurate, and its ridiculousness of Rhode Island.
Well, Seth MacFarlane did spend a lot of time in this area.
Yeah.
So he went to Brown.
Yeah, no, it's crazy.
I heard he went to black.
Yeah. Nice.
Is that a race joke?
I heard he went to Green. No,
I'm colorblind.
No.
Oh, look at that! Look at that! That was a smooth. Wicked smooth. That was a checkmate right there.
That's more like
He's colorblind.
I'm hue blind.
That's like,
I'm contrast blind.
yeah, it's like there's no racism here. I'm colorblind. What's up?
Now we're insulting colorblind people.
No.
No.
He's colorblind. He's colorblind. You can say it.
You can say it.
That's right.
You can throw that word around.
Yo, dog, my grandmama was having Nintendo. If anybody's seen that YouTube video, you'll get that reference. There's people laughing.
No.
All right. So what about? All right. One more. Let's toggle one more.
What do you got?
All right. I got two more actually, but we gotta pick one. So either Salem, or what about? What's the most scariest situation each one of us has to talk about? That we've been through ourselves.
I want to go with that one.
You want to go with that one?
Yeah, we'll do a whole thing on Salem witch trials because that spans like 20 years. That's got to be its own thing.
All right.
It's fucked up, and there's a lot about mob psychology.
So give me one.
And ergot poisoning, by the way, what LSD is derived from.
Yeah.
Poison grain was reported in high numbers during all those seasons, so people were basically tripping out because they were eating the basically poisoned bread during the Salem witch trials. So people were literally going crazy and they had no idea why.
Oh no shit.
So there's a lot of that in it.
Did you know you can get naturally drunk if you have a certain condition with your stomach where yeast just ferments in your stomach, so it'll just create pretty much alcohol and just get you drunk out of nowhere. There's people who didn't drink and they had this and they're like, why am I like coming shit-faced right after like 9 o'clock at night after they had their meals? It's like, no, like that's not. It's not really that like that meal ferments, but it's just like sometimes it just. I don't know, it happens and they get drunk throughout the day and they'll feel like they just drank a bunch of alcohol, but again, like the fermentation of the yeast and everything like that, it creates the same kind of stuff that's used to make beer, so.
That's crazy. It's like figures. It's probably happens to the people that don't want it to happen to them.
Yeah, so
Like, if it happened to, like, someone who drank all the time, they'd be like, oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I fuck you up.
But you can change it by just altering your diet.
Yeah.
That's why they say, like, when, like flashbacks from acid and shit being in your spine. Driving down the road one day, your back cracks, all of a sudden you're tripping balls. Like, I don't think I'd be afraid of that.
Yeah.
Oh, man, all right. I need to pull over. Like, just call me, Dad. Be like, get Daddy CDs. We're gonna be quiet. Listen to some Tool.
So, I got one more.
Oh, I got one.
How about you got? Well,
Alright, but say yours.
I got one more. Mercy Brown.
Mercy Brown.
Who's heard of Mercy Brown?
I've only
Never
heard
heard-
of Mercy's
I've heard
Brown.
of,
That's a throwback. That's funny. It's improv.
it's improv. Funny, you have to explain.
No, it's improv.
You know, that's like Steve Carell from The Office.
Mercy Brown was the first reported vampire incident
Really?
in the United States, in
Man.
Rhode Island.
May I have a handful of your nuts, sir?
Cocktail peanuts. So who's got an extremely creepy thing that happened to them?
Every day.
You want these?
My dad. He lived in a house on Wilbur Ave. Big house. I think it's the one on the corner across from that little.
Yeah, you
pawn shop.
gotta hear this. This is pretty good. Ash, you gotta be in it.
Shut up. You know what appliance shop I'm talking about? Where there's the flashing light, I think, and you can go straight and you'll go towards Quality Inn, or you can take a left and go towards Mr. Peepers in the church.
Mm-hmm.
That house on the corner, I think that one might be it. It was an old, big, green house. But my grandma, my dad, and his brother lived there, and my grandpa too. And they were all police officers, like his parents, my grandparents. But one weekend they went on vacation. Well, she took a weekend off from work, I should say. And the police officers, when she came back on Monday, were like, "Oh, did you have a party? We heard the music bumping from your garage." Didn't say bumping.
Yeah.
It's my lingo.
Welcome to Reno.
So she's like, "No, there's not even any electricity in my garage." And they went in the garage, and she's like, there's no lights or nothing. And they're like, the lights were on, there was music. And so she, there's no electricity, there's no light bulb or anything. So she's like, "Oh, let's get the Ouija board, whatever." They start using the Ouija board, because there were a few other instances where my dad woke up and his waterbed was like wiggling and shit.
Yeah, there was like
And-
one instance where you said there was like blood, like it looked like blood coming from the walls or whatever.
No, the walls
sweat
would
or whatever. Sweat, yeah.
And they found blood on the floor, and I don't know if it was the bathroom or what they found it on the floor, and since she was a police officer, she sent it in, and it was dog blood. And they found a dog bone. I'm not sure. My dad said it was in the toilet, but I'm not positive about it. And the toilet would flush randomly all the time and shit like that. So anyway, she got the Ouija board involved, and my dad was drinking a few beers when they were doing this, and she did the holy water and shit first, like she don't mess around. And
Holy water and shit. That was a phrase that was just used.
sorry. But they did it, and a little girl named, I forget what her name is actually, but a little girl came through, and she was saying that she was upset that she didn't have her doll. And my dad was like, "Oh, here we go, this is such bullshit. Stupid, why are you even doing this type of deal?" And my grandma asked pretty much where, the doll was, and she said it's in the basement. So my dad's like, "Oh yeah, I'll go check, I'll go look for this doll." And so she said in the basement, you know, underneath some boards in the back corner somehow came out of that. My dad went and found a little hallway that he's never even seen in his basement, moved boards, and went down the hallway, moved boards, and the little girl said she wanted her doll KK. Like, she wanted her doll KK, and when my dad found the doll, right on the fucking shirt said KK. Like the doll shirt.
That's some weird shit.
So, therefore, my grandma was a police officer. She called psychic people that she could find, which were the Amityville horror people who did the, like, you know, real haunting. Those people came all the way down to Swansea.
I did not know that. That's the people from The Conjuring.
Yeah. Well,
what are their names? Not the Wardens.
There's an actual newspaper clip from this. A bunch of people from the police department were at the house. I call them the Amityville horror people because I don't remember their names, but they told my grandma to not have the Ouija board anywhere in the house. And so she put it in the trunk of her car, and as soon as they walked up, they were like, the Ouija board's in that car, pointed right to the Ouija board, the car with the Ouija board in it and everything.
Yeah.
Ed and Lorraine Warren.
Yeah. And so I don't even know, I can't remember exactly what they did now, but they did some stuff, and they went in the basement, and they had an unfinished basement, and they had them dig out like some stuff, and they said a light would shine in a certain way, and right where the light would shine in, that's where they found the dog and the girl buried inside of the house. There was a little girl and a dog.
In the basement?
Yep, in the basement, buried in the basement. And the dog was killed just to be buried on top of the girl. They ended up finding out that the dad pushed the girl down the stairs, and she hit her head and died. She was 8 years old.
That's pretty freaking gruesome.
Yeah. I know, when I first heard that, I was like, what?
My mom has the article somewhere.
That's crazy. I'm not okay with knowing that is the street that I live on.
So every time I'm driving down that road, I always like, what is it?
I'm gonna have to do some research. It's old police records.
Alright, John's leaving. You just edit this part. That's what it is.
No, not editing this.
Excuse me, that was really necessary though.
Alright, so.
Sounded like it needed to be done.
It really had to come out.
Will,
Yes. So,
what is your plug?
my plug. So, on Twitter, I am Backwards Lumber, and obviously we want to promote the podcast, so like, comment, share. We're trying to think up of a contest right now to do. The first, say, 100, 200, 100 followers. Let's say 100 followers are going to be entered to win something. Some podcast merch. Once that comes about. So, follow, like, subscribe, comment, tell us your freaky story. Have you ever seen anything weird in a graveyard or lights in the sky? Been to any weird places? Particularly, if anyone's been to the Lad School in Rhode Island, that's a famous creepy place in Rhode Island that we didn't get to. So if anyone has any stories from that place, we want to hear them. So you can follow us on Podbean and Liberated Syndication, libsyn.com. We're the Talking Backwards podcast. Happy Halloween, everyone. Josh, do you have any plugs?
Sunlit Audio. Website's not done yet, but I guess if you want to get a sneak peek of it, it's sunlitaudio.wixsite.com/sunlitaudio. It's a lot, but yeah.
Yeah. Scott, what do you got for plugs?
Send us your butt plugs and we'll do an unboxing video.
little review.
We will do that. Actually, we'll do
We'll
this.
give our personal review.
We will. Yeah, we'll do it. Fuck it.
No, check me out on YouTube. Just
yeah.
search Sankus, and there I am. So,
Sankus.
This guy
How do you spell Sankus?
SANCUS.
What do you usually post?
I post music production tutorials for FL Studio, and they're mostly focused on sound design, fun stuff, EDM.
It's awesome. That's awesome, and your stuff sounds great.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. Especially collaborations.
Oh, yeah.
This guy right here is the wizard.
Damn.
He is a wizard.
Thank you.
He's not the wizard.
Yeah, he is not the wizard because we actually have another wizard in the house.
Yeah.
Tom.
Adam.
He's working his magic.
It's all good. It's all good.
He's our resident smarty pants.
He's our resident encyclopedia.
Yeah, I look stuff up. Adam just knows it.
Yeah.
Ash, do you have anything to promote?
Cats.
Cats!
Adopt
Everybody!
your lovely
5,
cat.
4, 3, 2, 1. Cats!
That's what it's like if you don't have a cat. That's
got
a
5
thing
cats.
without cats.
5 kitties.
I think that's it, everyone.
That is.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.